Hello my friends, today we're picking up where we left off in my previous Q&A. So if you have not seen part 1 of this Hermes slash luxury Q&A discussing all your questions and dilemmas, I will make sure to have part 1 link down below. And without further ado, if you'd like to continue chatting about anything and everything Hermes, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. What do you think of the Kelly Cup bag? I have to be honest, the Kelly Cut is one of my least favorite bags, but you're probably not asking the right person because I don't like any of these horizontally elongated bags, which we are seeing more and more of. And I understand why brands are doing them because you can make a small bag without compromising on what you can fit in there, because if the bag is more elongated, they will fit things like your smartphone, your keys, larger wallets, etc. But that doesn't mean that I like the proportions of them. And the Calicut is one of my least favorite Hermes bags. It's just one of those bags that in my opinion looks incredibly awkward. It looks tired, it looks outdated. I think it would look a lot more streamlined if it didn't have that flat handle on top, which by the way I love on the Kelly pochette because they do feature the exact same handle, but on the Calicut it just looks out of place. It would look a lot more streamlined without it, like the Calicut Shadow, which the only Calicut I ever liked the idea of was and is the Calicut Shadow, which has recently been brought back. But other than that, it's not a bag that I would ever consider or I would ever spend my money on. Well, never say never, because there was a point in time when I quite liked this bag and I was looking for it, but at this point it's just not a shape that I personally enjoy. It reminds me of something that you'd use to carry an instrument or a tool. It just looks like a Kelly 25 that was chopped in half. So for me, it's not a bag that I personally appreciate. How to get a box Kelly 25? Great question. Honestly, I would just approach it the same way as I would asking for any other bag. But there are a few things that you have to keep in mind when it comes to buying a bag in heritage leather, which box leather is considered a heritage leather. The most important is that Hermes makes very, very few bags out of heritage leathers. So if you ask for one of these bags, it might take a little while to get your hands on one. But because they are quite rare and considerably more expensive than regular Hermes leathers, the market for it is also a lot smaller. So you're not technically competing against as many people as you would for a bag in a regular Hermes skin, and the same goes for exotic bags. Even though Hermes makes fewer of these bags, there aren't as many people out there who are willing to spend the premium on a bag made out of heritage leather or exotic skin, which I'm not saying that no one is willing to do it. Obviously there are many people out there who would jump on the opportunity to get a bag in heritage leather or in exotic skin, but the target market isn't quite as wide as it would be for a bag made out of regular leather. So even though it might take you a little bit longer to get your hands on one, your odds might be a little higher because these bags are slightly more expensive and they are more of an acquired taste. Heritage leathers tend to be a lot more delicate, they are a lot more finicky to use, so they're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But if it's something that you're genuinely interested in, put in a request. It might take you a little while to get it, but it's definitely going to be a really special addition to your collection. Is the Mini Evelyne 16 worth it in terms of its practicality and wear and tear? Personally, it's not a bag that I enjoy. I did buy the Mini Evelyne a couple of years ago just because I heard so many people talking and raving about that bag. So I wanted to test it for myself, and while I love the idea, unfortunately I didn't feel that it's a bag that really suits me. I wish there was a size between the Mini Evelyne and then the next size up, which is an Evelyne 29. The 16 is just a little bit too small for me for everyday use and it just doesn't suit my proportions. And then the 29 was just a little bit too big for me. But if it's a bag that you like the proportions of, if you like the shape of the bag, if you're looking for a more casual, laid back, incredibly relaxed bag, it's definitely something that you can look into. I do have a dedicated review on the Mini Evelyne with close-ups, mud shots, sharing everything that fits into the Mini Evelyne, which I will make sure to link up here. So it's definitely something that is worth considering, but personally, if you ask me, no on me, the Mini Evelyne just simply doesn't work. Among the bags discontinued by Hermes, which is your favorite? Great question. I would say that a bag that I love the look of, it's not something that I would buy for myself just because I feel like it's a little bit too small for me, is the Hermes Initial bag, which is really a stripped down, minimalist, simplistic bag. It's all about the craftsmanship and the beautiful leathers that Hermes uses. That's a bag that I loved, but I think it only came in one size and that size was way too small for me. But I loved how it had two handles and you kind of had to, the way it was constructed was really, really cool, really casual, yet really beautifully put together, and it definitely had a really nice sophisticated look to it. I also love the double suns bag, which is not technically discontinued, but it's really, really hard to get, not because there's so much demand for it, but simply because Hermes doesn't produce that much of it. But that's a bag that has been on my radar for about 10 years at this point, and it's something that I would love to hunt down at one point. I also really like the Yo bag, which was named after Michel Yo, which has been discontinued for about 20 years now, but that one is also beautiful, really simplistic, understated, under the radar bag, which I think came with a little pouch bag, or it kind of looked like a pencil case that it came with. That's also a really, really cool bag. And then a bag that I would never buy for myself, but I love the look of, is the So Kelly bag. I feel like if you are a mom or if you're someone who is always on the go and you need your hands free, you need a bag that can carry your entire life in a really, really elegant fashion, then the So Kelly is the best bag to go for. It's beautifully crafted. It doesn't scream and shout the brand name, yet it looks and feels like $1,000,000. And you also get that little bit of Kelly touch. So we have quite a few questions on ostrich leather, whether I like ostrich leather or not. What do I think of ostrich bags if I would ever spend money on ostrich bags? So let's quickly talk about ostrich, because it is one of the exotic leathers that Hermes uses. They use ostrich, different types of lizard, different types of croc, and alligator, because not all exotic skins are created equal. They're not all the same. So I do have a dedicated video discussing the difference between the different types of exotic skins that Hermes uses, which I'll make sure to link up here. But ostrich is considered an exotic leather. It's not nearly as expensive as alligator or croc, but it is considerably more expensive than a bag would be made out of regular skin. And there was a point in time when I kept getting offered different bags in ostrich leather, and I wasn't sure if it was something that was really for me. So my advisor at the time suggested that I buy something comparable in ostrich leather that's not quite as expensive and as substantial as a bag would be, just so I can test the waters and see how I feel about ostrich leather, which I'm really glad that I did, because I bought two pieces in ostrich. I bought a Burn wallet and then a Kelly wallet, which the biggest pro of ostrich leather is that it is an exotic skin, so it does add a unique texture and a unique finish to your collection, but it's not nearly as delicate and as finicky as something like alligator, croc, or lizard would be. You don't have to worry about it quite as much as you do when it comes to other exotic skins. It wears beautifully, it ages incredibly well. The only thing that you will see is you can see a little bit of patina. So if you pick it up in a light color, you might see a little bit of darkening over time, and ostrich will develop this sort of waxy sheen, which is personally not my favorite, but it's much better than having a bag that you constantly have to shelter and worry about, like alligator or croc, because when it comes to those leathers, you can look at them the wrong way and they'll get scratched and marked, whereas ostrich is a really hardy leather that ages really nicely, and Hermes does a good job at flattening the pores out, but personally it's still not a look that I appreciate on a larger bag. When it comes to a small bag like a mini bolide, a mini Kelly, a pochette, a Kelly pochette, or a Kelly wallet, I think that's the right balance, but getting a larger bag in ostrich is just not something that I would personally appreciate. Those dots to me just become a little bit too overwhelming. But if you do like the look of ostrich, I have to say that as far as exotic skins go, ostrich is the most reasonably priced, and it is also the longest lasting. Do the So Black pieces come with black packaging like dust bags, etc.? So the original So Black pieces, yes, they came in a black box in a black dust bag with black tissue paper, but the new re-released So Black pieces, which now they just call them tone on tone, those will not. They will come in the regular Hermes packaging. But if you get one from the early 2010s, if you get a Birkin So Black, a Kelly So Black, a Kelly Pochette, a Kelly Cut, yes, those should come in an all black packaging. How do you personally budget for buying luxury pieces? How do you justify it? So this is a topic that I could do an entire video on. So let's just discuss maybe some tips and tricks or some rules that I have personally. So one thing is that I will never at this point buy something and put something on a credit card that I cannot immediately pay off. That is a big rule for me that I am not willing to do. If I cannot pay it off, I'm not putting it on a credit card. When it comes to justifying what I buy, I am a big believer in wish lists. So I do have an ongoing wish list of things that I would like to add to my collection, things that need to be upgraded or replaced, because at this point I just need to replace the things that I already own. I try to go through my collection at least seasonally and try to see where I have gaps, where are the things that I need to replace, and as soon as I find something, I put it on a wish list. So I have that constantly going, and whenever I see something, I can put that on my wish list too, which gives me a little bit more time to think about them. At this point, I rarely, if ever, buy things on a whim, because I think that's where you make the biggest mistakes. If you see something that you fall in love with, I would say to at least wait 24 hours. What I do these days is that if I find something that wasn't on my wish list, but I'm extremely drawn to it, I will take a picture of it. I'll have it on my phone and I'll try to leave it for at least 24 hours. And if it's something that remains on my mind, if it's something that I continue thinking about, then I will go back and pick it up. But I will rarely, if ever, buy something immediately on the spot, because you can make some big mistakes. And especially when it comes to things like SLGs and miscellaneous things, I think that's where you can waste most of your money. Let's say when you go to Hermes, obviously we all know how difficult it is to get Hermes pieces. So let's say you go to Hermes looking for a specific bag, a specific piece of ready to wear, a specific accessory that they don't have in stock. That's when you can start buying things that you don't really need, since you're already there and you have the money in your pocket. Don't let it burn a hole in your pocket. You don't have to spend it. I think the best way to buy luxury these days is to have a wish list and try to stick to it as much as you can. And whenever you see something new that you're tempted by, put it on your wish list, take a picture of it, take your time, go away for 24 hours or 48 hours, ask the boutique to hold it for you if they can, if it's a more rare piece. But don't buy it immediately. Take your time, think about it, and see if it's genuinely something that would add value to your collection, or if you're only just buying it because there isn't anything else that you're interested in out there. Ways to use the Mini Kelly, pros and cons, open or flap inside. Great question, because I did recently pull out my Mini Kelly just to see if I could use it or if I was in the mood to use it. So why don't I go and grab that really quick, because I don't think I have put it away yet. So this is by far my most used Mini Kelly, which is my black Mini Kelly in Epsom with gold hardware, which at this point I just don't really use these bags for a few reasons. I do think that they're beautifully made, but as we discussed before, I think that they're quite overdone at this point. To me, they just feel kind of basic at this point, and I'm really quite shocked that I'm saying this, because these bags at one point were some of my most favorite things. I used to collect them, I used to go crazy for them, but back in the day, anytime I saw Mini Kelly walk down the street, my heart would skip a beat. Whereas now, when I see one, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh my god, not another Mini Kelly. Is that real? Is that fake? I don't care, because it looks basic either way. That kind of rhymed, but anyway, going back to the user experience of the Mini Kelly, it is an adorable bag. There's a lot you can do with it. It does come with a shoulder strap. When it comes to the way I style my Mini Kellys, I will either wear them crossbody with a shoulder strap. I did actually have a longer strap custom made, because the original strap is just a little bit too short for me. I will never carry my Mini Kelly handheld like this, just because my hands are quite big and the handle is quite small, but I will grab it like this sometimes, or I will just carry it as a clutch bag like this. The only thing that I wouldn't do with this bag is carry it like this. It looks great on some people, but personally not on me because of my hands. And it is a bag that is a little bit tough going in and out of, because there are quite a few steps you have to take. So you obviously have to twist the closure, then you have to do sangos, and then you have to open the flap of the bag, which is not the easiest thing to do, because this bag is quite small, the opening is quite tight. So when I use this bag, I rarely if ever close it. I will either carry it like this with the flap completely open, or if I want to close my bag just a tiny bit, I will just close the flap shut and twist the closure, I will leave the sangles undone, because if you want to open and close this bag every time you need something, it is going to be quite a procedure. So personally, when I use this bag, I will either have the flap completely open, or I will just close the flap and twist the closure shut. And what else can I tell you about this bag? So the pros of these bags is that it is hands-free, it doesn't take up too much space, so if you need a small bag, it is a good one to go for. It does fit a decent amount. I mean, it's not going to fit everything that you need, but it will fit your essentials. It fits more than other mini bags do. It even fits your phone as long as it doesn't have a case on it. So a regular iPhone like mine would fit without its case. I do have video sharing everything that you can squeeze in here, which I will make sure to link either down below or up here in the corner for you, where you can see everything up close and personal for yourself. But it does fit a decent amount. It comes with a shoulder strap. There are a ton of different ways of styling it. The cons of this bag, number one, is how overdone it is, and that it's quite hard to get in and out of, because as I mentioned, the opening is really quite tight. And then the last thing that I would say is that the quality is not nearly as immaculate as the quality of other Hermes bags. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it seems that the smaller you go with Hermes, the worse the quality gets. Perhaps it's because these bags are harder to, it's just harder for a craftsman to get into all the corners. They are harder to hold onto, they are harder to construct, because there simply isn't that much material to work with. But I feel like I've never seen as many flawed bags as I have seen Mini Kellys. I've seen people having issues with the length of the shoulder strap, with the handles turning and twisting and tilting. I've seen Mini Kellys where the flap was completely lopsided, or it wasn't perfectly straight, which for the price, that's what you would expect. I have seen Mini Kellys where there were a lot of issues with the stitching, with the corners wearing off, or the corners not being straight. So I don't know why that is, but there are a lot of issues with these bags. And when I say that they're not well put together, I mean compared to every other brand, they're still beautifully done. But if you know Hermes, if you love Hermes, if you have an appreciation for the brand, and if you have played around with their other pieces, I think you will notice a difference between the way Mini Kellys are constructed and all of their other bags are. So there are a lot of good things that I can say about this bag, but a lot of bad too, which I feel like people fail to mention because it's so incredibly hyped right now. But if you ask me, do I think it's worth the hype? It really depends if you love a small bag. I mean, I would maybe consider a Kelly pochette before I consider this, because I really don't think that it is all that people make this out to be. But my friends, this completes today's Q&A. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I cannot wait to read your comments. Please let me know your thoughts on all of these questions. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Is there anything that you would like to add? And if you have any questions for future Q&As, make sure you follow me on Instagram. But I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I hope to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.